Testing sound. Testing sound.
My time. Always ready.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our curriculum committee meeting for the month of February. I'd like to go around and have everybody introduce themselves, please.
Diane Potter.
Megan Carlson.
Tony Veep.
I'm Matt Marshall.
Angela Hardy.
In the corner, Terry McGuire.
Angela?
We have guests today, so if you want to introduce yourself, you can, and then, but for no purpose other than your guests.
Sarah Sims, Principal, Gardner Regional Middle School.
Drew Riddle, Middle School Phys Ed.
John Umland.
Kate Umland.
All right, thanks for joining us today. Okay, next item.
The first item that we have on the agenda is an executive session, and it's titled Appeal to the Board by a Family for an Exemption to Instruction in a Unit of Physical Education under 1 MRSA 405 6 Delta.
Thank you. Okay, so at this time, we will stop live streaming. We will be on mute. We'll make sure Terry's all set. We will come back out of the meeting, the session, for a vote or a decision. At which point then we will be back to kind of public. But it will just be the one statement. So Terry will tell These are the three
Okay.
categories.
We're back online.
That's it. Those
All
are the
set?
three.
Okay.
So I'm gonna make a
And
motion.
that's how this reads.
My motion will be, we deny a parent's request for an exemption under policy IMBB.
Second thought. Without a second, it's a flat, we need a new motion.
I would make a motion that whatever the other
That's the other
Thanks.
option.
to well, I wanted the third option. I don't want to press it. I would like, my
So-
motion
so
is
let me
to
be clear.
overrule the,
Let me be clear.
okay, that has to be
Matt
first.
has a motion on the table. We deny a parent's request for an exemption under policy IMBB. We need a second and then we vote.
Okay.
If it, depending on how the vote turns out, then you can make another motion. If there's no second, it also fails and we have to make another motion. I think I've carried Robert's Rules of Order forward.
Okay, I think that was what,
So do we have a second on Matt's motion of denying a parent's request for an exemption under policy IMBB?
It appears not.
It appears no. So do we have another motion?
what does that?
We have to do something.
Okay, so,
So it's right there. You gotta read that. That's the second motion.
oh, it's right.
No, you don't have.
No, I don't have
Well,
one of those.
Here's the notes. That's the other option.
Right, and that's, so it would be that one
Say
and
it. You have to say it.
yes,
This is my
over,
motion.
I'm making a motion to overrule the superintendent's denial under policy IMBB.
Thank you. So
Okay.
Megan has made a motion. Does anyone second that motion? Diane has seconded the motion, so we need to take a vote. Who is in favor of overruling the superintendent's denial under policy IMBB?
So then can we make another one now?
No.
No, this is it. Who is opposed? Motion carries. We will be in touch with the family.
Aye.
This wasn't a big.
Hey, remember, we're still online.
Yeah, probably should now have discussion.
Okay.
Okay, we're gonna move into the next topic on our agenda. We're trying to conclude this meeting at 5. We may not be that successful. So in front of you, the next agenda on the next
It's okay.
The next item on the agenda is a recommendation to the board of the adoption of a math program for special education services K-12. Sarah Bolduc Ignaziak is our Assistant Director of Special Services, and she helps lead this this program review. And her team is making the recommendation to the curriculum committee. So I'll provide some context. If there's, and you have the presentation in front of you, and it was sent to you in advance and is attached to the agenda. So if you have questions, then we'll have Sarah here to answer those questions, and then we will need to call a vote. So in front of you it's called the Math Intervention Curriculum. This is specifically for students with specially designed instruction in mathematics. So students with an IEP in mathematics. All students, or almost all students, receive core instruction in mathematics. And then under specially designed services, receive, if they're identified in math, would also receive time for specialized math instruction. So that is not the same as core instruction, the math program that's either in K-5 or 6-8. It's to target the areas where we know students need to grow so that they can better access grade level learning. And so we're looking for a systematic, explicit resource that's going to be able to be vertically aligned, so go from K through 8 or 12,
We
8.
go through 8th, but our life skills curriculum at the high school will also be able to access.
Right, because of where they're at in their grade level learning expectations. And it would allow the teachers equitable access to resources aligned to the standards, and in modules that will allow them to instruct towards the students' learning needs rather than a year scope and sequence, which is what core instruction does. So if you're a classroom teacher, you sort of go through these units that follow one another. But if you're a specially designed instructor, you need to focus in on where that student is demonstrating a need for growth rather than everything. They're already getting everything elsewhere, okay? So they did a significant review, you can go through the slides and see that. There was a criteria and vetting process that they used. They've narrowed it down from 4 programs to 1. And with a review at the elementary and a review at the secondary level. And the finances were already earmarked through our ARP IDEA grant. And the recommended program falls within the budget that was earmarked for this purpose this year. But to purchase something of this size, we need your approval. So, and then there is a professional development plan if it's purchased to ensure that people know how to use it with students.
Pre-recorded, does that mean you can kind of like keep accessing it? 'Cause
Yeah.
you didn't catch it first time around.
Yeah, sometimes I need a refresher.
Refresher? Yeah. That looks cool.
So Sarah, anything else? Is that an overview?
It's a delightful overview of about 6 months of work with all our K through 8 special educators. And then the math coach and I worked some last summer as well, narrowing it down to the 4 that we reviewed this year. We're pretty excited to actually be able to look and potentially purchase a curriculum versus having to pick and choose and pull and search and take a lot of teacher time finding pieces for students. We're excited.
Yeah, I love how much teacher involvement there was in the process.
That's exciting.
So do you need a motion for this particular? Are we at that
If
point
your
yet?
questions and conversation is done, then we would need a
I really
motion.
don't have
I don't
really
have-
much to.
I'm excited about it.
Well, it probably helped having it ahead of time too, being able to go through it.
Tony, you have anything?
Just anything more you wanted to add? I mean, it sounds like, yeah, as a team, it sounds like,
I'm looking forward to the professional development as well. They have the pre-recorded, which some of our people are excited about. We also have, they'll come for a full day in person that's included in the quote. So some people like pre-recorded, being able to revisit, some people like that in-person piece. So we're looking forward to that as well.
Can we just make a motion to,
Yeah.
I make a motion to approve this? How's it go?
You can make a motion to approve the recommendation,
I
yes.
will make a motion.
I'll second
to
that.
approve
You beat you to it.
yeah.
Sorry, Tony. It's my last one that I'll do.
Yeah. Aw.
Okay. All those in favor of the motion to approve a recommendation of this math program for special education? Unanimous. Great,
Fun.
Thank you.
thank you, Sarah.
Thanks.
Almost there, Chad.
Thanks for waiting too, and all that. Yeah.
The next item on the agenda is consideration of the approval of 2 job descriptions. Those should be just behind the math intervention. You had them in advance. The literacy specialist looks long because I didn't double side it when I printed it, sorry. I didn't mean to. We currently, we don't have an approved literacy specialist job description on file. We have a draft that's a number of years old. And so in going through our, typical review of job descriptions, realized that needed to be taken care of. And in doing so our literacy specialists specifically work, let me make sure this is true all the way through. Yes, our literacy specialists specifically work in Title I or the Learning Lab. and it's a teacher position at that level. And then we have some people in Title I who are reading and math specialists at the Ed Tech 3 level. And there's an oversight process for that to ensure, we're meeting all the requirements for Ed Tech 3 certification. The Ed Tech 3 job description was very, very lengthy and needed to be reviewed. Because there were items in the job description that were sort of outside the purview of an Ed Tech 3. And then with the absence of an approved literacy specialist job description, we went through and revised all of them, both of them. We've included staff in the revision process to ensure that what's in the job description is supported by the staff. They feel like it's an accurate representation of their work, while also having administrative oversight in the review of the job descriptions. So what is before you is about most of the documents say on the bottom, the third or fourth draft of this. And this is kind of the clean version. I did put a edited version in the agenda as an attachment, but I didn't print it off today.
So are these funded positions already?
Yes, they're already funded, already staffed, nothing new.
Okay.
The only thing that's new is an updated job
Just the
description.
description.
Mhm.
Well, we have always deferred hiring for the most part to Pat. These job descriptions, I'm sure, are very accurate as to the need and what is expected of whoever applies. So I would assume Pat's probably seen these already.
Yep.
So I'm good with, do we need to vote? What do we
Yep,
just?
you do.
Okay. So I will make a motion that we accept the job descriptions for the literacy specialist and the educational technician 3, Title I math and reading person.
As presented.
As presented.
Second.
Tony, so you got it in.
Got it.
Oh, man, I was gonna try and move.
And all those in favor? Unanimous, great, thanks. Okay, Terry, I should share the program of studies just to have it on the screen. It was attached to the agenda, so if anyone is online, if they looked at the agenda, it would be attached. There's probably been a few slight modifications since then, but nothing of consequence. Yeah, I'm joining it right now. Got it. Sorry, I forgot about that step. Oh, hang on. I have the wrong tab up. Thank you for your patience. There we go. Okay. I know, it's small and it's long and it's a lot of pages. So Mr. Kempton is here as the high school principal who does this work annually. The program, as you can see, it's called the working draft right now. The program of studies is a required document that we provide students and families annually that basically is our agreement with students as to what we will offer them in order for them to meet their graduation requirements as outlined in policy IKF, okay? You, as the curriculum committee, are required to review and adopt it annually. So I need to highlight the changes. Mr. Kempton's here to discuss any of the changes as if you have questions. And then we vote. So as you can see, it's just broken down by all the purpose and process and then the content areas. Mr. Kempton made this easy for us this year, as he does most years, but The changes, as you can see, are in a different color. Upon approval from the board, we will eliminate the reds and blues and have it just be regular text, but we don't do that before board approves it. The standards changed. The standards changed, I'm tired, in English language arts, and the English language arts department updated their program of studies to reflect that. So there aren't a separate reading literature and informational text standards, it's all called a reading standard now in the broad categories. So that's what those changes are in English. Making them 4-power standards. They adjusted just some phrasing around the graphic novel and vocabulary units that they use, as you saw ahead of time. And there's a more significant integration of grammar in different parts of their English units. Those are the big changes in English, I think, if I recall. Again, this is available attached to the agenda if you want to look at this in more detail. This is an elective, and the change is just in the stance and clarity we're taking around philosophy and critical thinking. Is that correct, Mr. Kempton? That's how I understood it, yeah. Yeah, same with theater arts. I feel like I'm gonna be motion sick here.
I know.
Our conspiracy theory class is an elective in social studies. And it's just clarification. The title changed slightly for clarifying really what's happening in that class. Psychology is a dual enrollment course, so we made that clear. Students can earn college credits. Again, it's an elective. See, here's an independent study right here.
I see it.
Juvenile justice psychology, but it's with a teacher.
From UMaine, yeah.
We just aligned, made sure any classes that are related to that are formatted the exact same way. That was just pre-work that got removed. If students want to skip to Algebra 2 because they've had Algebra 1 experience, it just clarifies what's the minimum requirement in order to do that, so there's no questions about it. We have a standard. And then these are math electives, and it looks like it's a huge change, but it's really just a change in the way that we're attending to statistics. We're separating it into a statistics and a trigonometry course, semester by semester, correct?
We went from this to what we currently have, which was more of a full year integrated, back to this because the department is just feeling that keeping them separate as a focused semester was a better approach.
I think you'll get a lot of student interest that way too.
Easy with scheduling as well.
Yeah. Just a title clarification. Yeah, science. This is just clarifying language to support students in their selecting the level of science class that they want to take. Do you want to speak to any of that here?
Just content adjustment for the investigating science. The original one was geared towards students going into AP chemistry, and what we're finding is that a lot of kids are doing the honors investigating science, and then when they get up to the junior year, they're taking a regular level chemistry, which is essentially a repeat of this. So we're adjusting this as far as the content goes to eliminate that carryover or the overlap when kids they'd still be ready for an AP Chem, but it's a better option for kids that choose not to.
Sometimes we learn by trying things out. So that's the same, that's all tied together right there. Then there are typical biology, chemistry, those sorts of things. That's a clarification of what Mr. Kempton just said. Physics is just a little bit of wording changes to ensure that they align with the standards. These are electives. So only if students have available time in their schedule and have, they build this in. Yeah, so environmental science, forensic science, entomology and beekeeping. The science behind transportation. So every content area tends to try to have electives as their staffing allows. So world language is here, and there's changes in electives as well.
So,
So just generally that, we're almost done.
I just had one.
Oh yeah, back up to the other.
Well, no. Are there any, we've run into this before, right? Are there any controversial changes or new courses that are being, I know that some elective courses like beekeeping, for example, I just saw that. Are there any courses that are controversial in nature that could potentially raise flags with some parents? Depending on where they sit.
Because these are elective, most of the changes are in electives, not required classes, don't you think, Mr. Kempton? That it's a choice that students take these courses. I don't even know that I'd say they were
Is
controversial,
the elective, the courses listed in this document?
like, for example, this one's Hispanic culture and society through film.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I suppose it could be a sensitive issue for someone, but it's a choice.
I'm not trying to be,
This, for example, this is like a subset to our world cultures in that the kids in the freshman year study the major regions of the world. Part of it being the culture, current culture, the history, trade, exports, imports, geography, so they cover like a broad brush of what the world is around us. And so this is a deeper dive into like the South America.
One lens.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm all about critical thinking, and I think all of that stuff is really important.
I don't see anything in here, and again, it's my opinion, but I don't see anything in here that we're like going against the grain and going off into right or left field to.
Okay.
She's been at this a long time.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, I wasn't.
Yeah.
I just was.
No, it's a
We've
great
been
question.
down. There have been some issues in the past,
Yeah.
and I just,
Yeah, no, great question. No, we're not.
Right, so yeah, these are all electives, and then, right, if there are, right, we kind of just talked about that there are, areas where, students may be challenged, but then there's avenues in our policy, I think, for what our structure is.
Yeah, I mean, there's some required courses students need to
Right.
take.
But some of the electives we were just talking about,
They don't supplant a
Yeah.
required course, they're in addition
they're in
to.
addition to.
In visual and performing arts, there's a couple things that changed. We used to have this long list of what classes qualify for fine arts credit. But after a review of all of our visual and performing arts, as they've kind of been refined, they all qualify for our fine arts credit. So we've removed that one list because anything in this category will qualify for fine arts. And in here, this one is specifically like concert band. Some students actually enter band in 5th grade in our system. Some enter in middle school, and some actually don't, they either move here or they just gained interest in it in their high school years. And so what this does is allows students with some experience to participate in concert band. And then the change is, if you haven't had any experience yet, and it's something you aspire to do, we will develop an independent study around beginning band so that you are ready for concert band. Is that correct? Yeah. So, they're not jumping in the deep end, the pool analogy. They have a little bit of practice in getting geared up for a concert band class, and then they can ask to enroll in concert band. And then the only other change, and there it is mostly in our video production, Jennifer Clausen's done some work around video production, and we just changed the title and made it a little more inclusive to more students, right? That's sort of how it played out. There's video production 1 and video production 2. And it has some real clarity about what they're getting out of those courses, which is a little different than new media and motion graphics. It's just.
One of the observations that Jen has shared with me is that there's a group of kids that like the group work and the production side of things, and then there are kids that like the independent work. So she's trying to tailor some of her classes and her electives so that there's something for each different group. So in addition to the VP1 and VP2, which are, VP1 is the basics, camera angles, shots.
Power button.
She has the sports photography and videography, just slight change there. And then her new electives, intro to photography and digital news media. And then I think we're done. Am I missing?
I just have to scroll through.
No. I think I just added bookmarks. I think that's it for change. Yeah, because then it's CATC and we didn't change. So that's our change in program of studies this year. Some years it's more significant. This year it's mostly based on electives and alignments and standards.
Descriptors.
Any questions?
Actually, I just wanted to say the piece you just shared, that the teacher was aware of patterns of student interest and skills or whatever. That's the kind of thing I think we really, just having those little snapshots of how the teachers are operating is, it's really cool to know that we've got that skill level in our classroom and that we can support that, or you can create it, we can just back it up so that we can build on those interests. Anyway, that's just a cool little observation.
This is a very teacher department generated document, and so the folks that are with the kids the most are the ones that are making the suggestions for the adjustments based on their experiences on a day-to-day basis with kids, which is, in my opinion, where it should be.
Makes sense, right? Yeah. Cool.
Okay, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the program of studies for Gardner Area High School for the year 2023 to 2024.
Second?
A second.
And a vote. Unanimous.
I'd like to audit some of them.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Seriously. Thank you, Mr. Kempton.
Yeah, thank you.
It's very fun to watch.
We have concluded all of the items on our agenda tonight. Yay us. Our next meeting is the second Tuesday in March, which I think is also the 14th.
It's the 13th, I think, is it, or the 14th?
It is the 14th, yep, the 14th of March. However, Mr. Marshall will not be part of that meeting with us, which makes me very sad. But you are coming to the next board meeting, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just wanted to
Yeah.
take a second before we leave to just, the work we do on this committee is extremely important. It's, in my opinion, one of the most important committees because it generally impacts students daily, right? The decisions that we make and the recommendations that Angela provides on curriculum, what's good, what isn't, her willingness to make the staff part of the decision process, I think it's been really, really important for our district. And so I appreciate everybody coming when they were supposed to come. We've had challenges with a few, but we always seem to, I think, come to the right decisions. And Angela, this district would be in deep
Water.
water without you, your leadership and your abilities to manage all the balls in the air. So
Thanks, Mr. Marshall.
I really appreciate everything that you've done and you continue to do, and I'm sure whatever you do in this district or beyond, if you decide to ever do anything else, which I hope you don't,
Yeah.
because our kids will suffer, you'll do very well. So
Thank you. Thank you for your service. I know that we get one more meeting out of you.
yeah.
Good.
And I'll have more to say there, but
Yeah.
It's been a great experience. The
It's
5
certainly
years
been an
that I've been there.
evolution, hasn't it?
It has, and I have to say, and I'll say the same thing when we have the board meeting. I made some assumptions before I came here. And frankly, I think there was a lot of assumptions made about me before I came here.
Probably fair.
I think a lot of people thought that just because I ran for city council, I had certain political views. Those views really don't matter here. They don't. They don't. It's about kids. It's about their safety. It's about their well-being, what they're being taught. It's about taking care of our staff. It's about taking care of taxpayers to a degree. So kids, staff, taxpayers in that order, and that's how I've always sort of approached things.
So are you saying you're leaving the board?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The next board meeting will be my last.
I'm really sorry.
And I think Becky's got somebody tuned up to maybe recommend to the city council to take my place. Because that's where the decision's made. That's just kind of how it's set up. So I'm gonna miss it. If I had my choice, I'd stay, but I can't. But anyway, thank
And
you.
you've done a great job here as this chair, I think. Really.
Well, thank you. When Becky initially put me on curriculum, I was kind of like, and I talked to her.
Until you met me.
And she, because everything's really run well. I mean, it's sort of, we're just here to, make a motion and do our thing, right?
how you go.
But then Becky and I talked and she said, what do you think about being the curriculum chair? And I'm like, okay. So I took a different view. I approached it trying to be learning as much as I could and just being a little bit more proactive with questions and I learned, or I started enjoying it. So it was no longer a snooze fest for me. So whoever is the person that's going to be appointed, it may not be anybody here, it may be somebody else from another committee. Hopefully they'll enjoy themselves as well.
I hope so.
Good.
How could you not? Right. How could you not? Thank you. Thank you, everyone. We're gonna adjourn the meeting, 5:20.
You
Something.
want these back?
That is, I am happy to take any of the materials back that you don't need. You already have them electronically. And thanks for your time. Oh, and I do need the other packet back.
Yeah.
For sure.
Are we no longer
Yeah.
recording?